Got a couple of things here. One, I know you're obviously happy about the win, but defensively, what can you learn from the game overall, and particularly those last 2 minutes?
Yeah, I think once we're up, I think the key message is just making sure that we find ways to close the game out better. When we have a team where we want them at, not to let our hand off the rope and just to pull it tighter and just to figure out a way to close the game in the way that we want to close it. And but all that being said, I never apologize for winning. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is about winning. But it's definitely learning points as far as as we continue to get later on in the season and we start playing these games and just in particular in my experience playoff games and stuff like that. You want to make sure that you don't let games slip away from you as far as in the last couple of minutes of the game. So however that is, it's about playing complementary ball. We could sit right here and go back and forth about a lot, but it's really about you know having chances to end the game on whatever side it is. You know what I mean?
Well, you had a chance to put it out of reach with what looked like a pick six, even after replay it looked like a pick six. But I want to get your thoughts about that ruling and your reaction to that.
Yeah, obviously I thought that it was definitely, a touchdown, but they made the call and we had to go out there, we had to finish the game. I mean, that's what it is. Was I upset? Yeah. I mean, anytime you have a play like that get called back, you're gonna have some, frustration. You're gonna be upset a little bit. But at the end of the day, the call was made. The game wasn't over, so we had to figure out a way to, calm all our emotions down and get out there and finish the game. But stuff is football, you know what I mean? As much as we want calls to go a certain way. Some of that stuff is out of our control. And, no matter how much I sit right here and say, no, it is, no matter how much I go against it, they made the call and, we just had to figure out a way to go out there and close out the game.
Larry,
Hey, Tremaine, you've been in the league for a while, played college football. Have you ever been a part of such a crazy game where it's basically you feel like you won the game, then you lost the game, then you won the game? I mean, some of the adjectives that the players were using in the locker room was like crazy and numbing and like, have you ever been part of a game like that?
To be honest, man, I hate that you asked me that because I
Yeah.
have. And unfortunately, to be completely honest, which I was on the other side of it, and we actually lost the game. But I don't want to get too much in depth on that. But
Okay.
I've been a part of games like that, and you play this game long enough, you'll be a part of some more games like that. I mean, that's what makes this game fun, man. That's what makes it, challenging, and that's why you play the game to. You don't always want to be in games like that, but it's just the thrill of, okay, who's going to be the guy to make the play? You know what I mean? That's more so what I'm talking about. You want to be in those type of games because you want to be that guy. And I think nobody flinched. You know what I mean? Even when the probability was up at one point, then it went down. You know what I mean? Nobody still flinched. It's like, nah, but we're gonna figure out a way to win this game. Like, I don't know how, but we're gonna win. And that was the communication on the sideline, and just seeing the way that it unfolded. I mean, it was definitely crazy for sure.
Pat,
Hey, Tremaine. Just so we're clear, you're referencing that Bills game probably, or the Chiefs game probably, right?
Pat, come on, man. You
Yeah, and I don't
I,
want any follow up on that. I'm just curious.
nah, for
Um,
sure, for sure.
with when you guys are on the sideline in the bear and Caleb's got the ball there at the very end, are you locked into what's going on? I've talked to defensive guys who were kind of sitting on the sideline, still angry about what happened on the field. How were you kind of processing what the offense was getting ready to do there?
Yeah, I think we was definitely frustrated because things happened the way that it happened. But at the end of the day, there's nothing that we could do at that point. So at that point, I'm trying to be supportive to my teammates, trying to be supportive to the offense, and I'm definitely locked in to see what's going on. Because at this point, you know what I mean, the game is gonna come down to this. So as far as making defensive adjustments, that's not needed as much now because now it's this is how the game is probably going to end, just because of the time that was left on the clock and things like that. So it was more so, me locking in and just kind of seeing how it was going to go, and even if it was going to come back on defense, we would talk about those adjustments, but it'd be a couple seconds on the clock like it was. And we was able to still talk about our adjustments so we can go out there and we still had to close the game out. But I was definitely locked in. I know I'm saying a lot, but I was locked in.
Have you seen Colston do anything like that in practice, just in terms of, a catch and run? And I know nobody's trying to take him to the ground in practice, but have you seen kind of his body control on display like that before?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Coaston, he's been doing good things since he got here. Just his athletic ability, his frame, his strength. I've been saying that stuff since he's got here. And I'm glad that he was able to, do it for us in a big time moment because, we needed that. And, to happen, to be a rookie and step up step up in a moment like that. I mean, it gets the respect. Even though we already have respect for him, it gets the respect more from the guys in the locker room just to kind of see the way he goes about his business. I always say Coaston, man, is like he's young, but he's wise. You know what I mean? Just the way he move and go about his business. So I'm not surprised at all.
Scott?
Hey, there's always talk about having to move on quickly after tough losses. Do you have to apply the same mindset after a big emotional win like this? And how do you kind of lock back in because you do have a pretty talented Giants team coming up despite their record?
Yeah, I think I mean my process and the way I go about it is, each week is the same routine. It's the same process. Whether we win a game, whether we lose a game. Wednesday comes the same, no matter after a win, after a loss. And I mean, that's honestly the way that you got to approach it. You know what I mean? You can't stay stuck on a win too long. You can't stay stuck on a loss too long. You know what I mean? You got to, take the things that we want to get better with, take the positive, take the cons, correct it, and also, let's praise the good things that we did as well. And we feed off those good things and we correct the things that we need to get better with, and then we move on into the next week. But that process, it doesn't change. You know what I mean? It's like that whether we win, whether we lose. So I would just say we got to stay afloat and continue to stay on the narrow path.
Last one, Courtney.
Hey, Tremaine, I know you obviously same situation kind of like with Kyle. You can't tackle him in practice now, but you guys did go up against him a lot during training camp. Seems like the Bengals had a hard time bringing him down yesterday. From your perspective, what makes him so difficult to tackle?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we went against each other, in training camp a lot, and I was able to, have some competitive periods and some competitive plays, and I kind of, we felt that, you know what I mean, throughout the whole camp, just as far as like his playmaking ability, you know what I mean, the way that he runs the ball, he has good contact balance, he's strong, and not just that, I mean, he has good vision, and I mean, I'm saying pretty much a lot of good traits that you want in a running back, right? But I was able to see a lot of that stuff in camp, so that's another guy that I'm not surprised with. And, just kind of seeing the way that he move around the building and, you know what I mean, go about his business. Like it's good to see those type of guys get rewarded, you know what I mean, with games like this, just because the attention to detail and, you can tell that they really want it and they strive to be the best. And, it's really good just to see, them have these type of games and all the hard work pay off for them.
And one of the reputation with him in college, like he never fumbled in 5 years at Rutgers. Like,
Oh, I didn't
were
know
you
that. That's a good stat.
like it was that something? I mean, I don't feel like I can't recall off the top of my head, but I don't feel like you guys ever forced a fumble with him in practice. Is that something you had to be cognizant of just like how good he is with ball security?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't know that, you know what I mean? But yeah, he definitely does a good job. I mean, I can't think of a time that he put the ball on the ground, you know what I mean? Don't quote me on anything, but I mean, that's just something that, obviously as defensive players, we always gonna strive to get takeaways. And so, it's good that he's doing a good job of definitely taking care of the ball.
Caleb, caught two passes, ran for 50 yards, threw for a bunch yesterday. What do you appreciate about just kind of his unique skill set that allows him to do that? You've been around a couple of different quarterbacks who are pretty tremendous athletes.
It just opens up the offense, just gives the defense another element that they have to account for, as they game plan throughout the week. So, being able to do that, extend drives, especially late in the game, is huge for us, and we got to continue to build on that.
When Ben's putting in these plays where the quarterback's getting the ball thrown to him, what's going through your mind? He joked yesterday that 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 he expects you guys to be excited when stuff like that comes up.
Yeah, especially, just seeing the different players that he's, kind of getting involved in some of the trick plays too. Um, it's cool to be a part of, and then it just depending on what he kind of has in mind. That person might be different every week, but definitely a cool thing to be a part of, and you definitely get excited about it during the week.
Go ahead, Phil.
Thanks. OZ, obviously, with you guys won and you're happy about that, but is there another side where you're talking to each other about how, in some aspects, the game kind of got away and it could have gone the other way, and there's lessons to be learned from how close this really was.
Yeah, I think that's something that we discussed team meeting today, and I think all three phases had a chance to, end the game, where it doesn't even have to, come down to, play like Colson's play at the end. So there's definitely room to improve, and that I like just, when we have a chance to end the game, like we have to end the game, whether that be on special teams or on defense or on offense. So definitely we keyed in on that today.
And then for yourself, what did you see, in some of your plays, your performance, and just how much do you appreciate how Ben incorporates everybody getting a primary read or getting involved in some aspect on
Uh,
offense?
I think it's something that should be it's like very appreciated. There's a lot of playmakers on this offense, so I think he makes it a point to have something in for everybody, and then each week, which makes it easier to kind of just be involved in the game and just be locked in and tuned in, and it's not like that everywhere, but I think Ben does a good job of making sure everybody feels like they're a part of the offense, a part of the game plan.
Courtney?
Hey, OZ. The red zone offense was a lot more efficient yesterday. You guys scored 4 touchdowns on 6 trips there. What do you attribute that to?
Really just playing clean. We had we had some penalties, but especially in key situations, I feel like we played pretty clean. We were able to run the ball pretty well, which helps. The O-line did a really good job, and like I said, we just played cleaner down there in the red zone.
I mean, you've seen Caleb in the 2-minute mode for, the whole season in a couple game-winning drives here, including the one yesterday. What I know he says like his heart rate drops and he feels like calmest, but like from his teammates' perspective, what is he like in those moments, whether it's in the huddle or when you're seeing him execute?
It's just calm, like just poise, and we know there's no panic in us and him, anybody on the team. We just know that we've practiced these situations time and time again, and then we just got to go out there and execute, and then just be situationally aware, knowing when to get down, get out of bounds, and knowing how much time is left on the clock.
Scott?
First thing is on your touchdown kind of shovel pass. I mean, like, how did that work during the practice week? And can you kind of take me through it? It definitely looked like you had to fight to get to the pylon.
I mean, practice it a couple times throughout the week, but really the thing was just the key blocks on the edge by Rome and Durham. Kind of clearing away. Like I didn't really have to do too much, and then there was somebody pursuing it from the inside, and then was able to break that tackle and get in there. But definitely key to the play was the 2 blocks on the perimeter.
As you kind of see that that game was turning into whoever has the ball last might win type of thing, does that add pressure to each one of these drives, knowing, hey, like we got to get 6 because they're scoring a lot too? Does that kind of change the mindset of the game as you go into the second half?
Not really. We just want to keep executing, and like I said earlier, we had a chance to ice the game. 4-minute drive, we get a first down. They have one timeout, maybe a 2-minute warning, but we had a chance to ice the game, and it doesn't even come down to we end up winning by two possessions. So it shouldn't have even been gotten to that point, to be honest.
Dan?
Ozzy, what would you say is Ben's defining characteristic as a leader?
Uh, I think he sets the standard for everybody in the building, and he's very passionate about it. And you can just tell like he's just authentically himself. And is he's such an easy coach to play for because you just see how real and true he is day in and day out, and how much he cares about the vision and our purpose here.
On the topic of vision, since the spring, as you've gotten more familiar with Ben's vision for a running game, how do you describe sort of his um, want to bring that to life in the ground game?
It's the foundation of the offense, really, being able to run the ball efficiently, and then that'll open up the passing game, play pass and stuff like that. So, just having that established just opens up everything else in the offense where we're able to, do some of the things that we want to do.